It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barron County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Well, John, we took a week off, and then we didn't so much take a week off. I don't know. You may have taken Memorial Day off. I have no idea. I didn't take a Memorial Day off. We just didn't have a show last week because I was over at the regional baseball/softball tournaments that went on all day at WKU, and so we didn't get a chance to preview that. And really, we didn't get a chance to talk about the district tournaments very much. But we're not going to start with that stuff. We're actually going to start with track because that's the last sport of the 2024-2025 season to close out. That includes our people. I think there's still the state team tennis tournament going on, but none of our teams qualified for that, so that doesn't matter to us. And something happened at Thursday at the Class 1A state track meet. Jerrick Martin became the latest athlete to etch his name into state title books. He won the Class 1A long jump with a leap of 22 feet and 9.5 inches, which was nearly 2 feet better than second place in Class 1A. And here's the thing for you, John. If he had competed in 2A, he'd have won that one by a foot, actually 2 feet. And if he'd have competed in 3A, he'd have won that one by a foot.
Yeah, and if I was king of KSLSA, that's what would have happened. Because I'm not a big fan of the classes when it comes to track and field. I don't really like it. If you're the best long jumper, I don't think it should matter what school you're in. I want to see the best of the best, and that was what was so impressive about Jerrick was not only did his jump win Class 1A, he was the overall state long jump champion from everybody else as well.
Yeah, I mean,
and did he long jump last year?
This is the first year he's ever done track.
Just walks out on a track and he's a state champion. That's
best long jumper in the state.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a combination.
He's a great athlete.
He's
6'4", 6'5", football, basketball, but I mean, he may walk himself into a track scholarship.
Yeah, he's just opened a lot of doors for himself just like that. And here's the thing about it.
And he doesn't even triple jump.
No.
And there's I'd be interested to see if he could high jump because I watch him play basketball. He's got that spring to him as well. I mean, there's other jumping events as well.
He did do the high jump during the season sometimes, and I don't remember what his best height was.
That's a technique deal, too.
Yeah, you got to get real comfortable with not seeing the ground and jumping over the bar.
Right.
And that's a lot of times that's the real mental trick. You know, you might be able to athletically get over the bar, but getting yourself to where you can trust that you're not going to break your neck because you're landing on your shoulders and whatnot is the real trick of that. So he did do the high jump some during the season. I tell you, another event that I can imagine with his speed he'd be pretty good at would be something like the 400-meter dash because at his size and his speed, I mean, if you can learn that's an event too that you think it's just raw speed, but you learn how to run the 400, and I mean, that's the difference between, fifth place and first place is learning how to run those curves properly and run that back stretch.
Right. So I'm trying to recollect here. In the last 3 years, how many state champions do we have?
Well, so last year we ended up with none. We had some people who came close. Chesney McPherson, I think in the 3,200, finished third or second last year.
Right.
And then 2 years ago, of course, we had Caroline Murphy, who swept both hurdles events at the state meet. And the year before that, she won the high jump, and then Taylor Ogles won the boys high jump. So, I mean, just in the last few years, I think this is our, sixth state champion in the last 3 years between Barron County and Glasgow. So, I mean, we talked about this before. We've had a great run of track athletes here recently, and Jerrick etched his name in that. And then also the Glasgow's girls 4x100 team, and they finished second in Class 1A. That was Cynthia Austin, Aniston Young, Taylor Wilson, and Danica Stevens, which, of course, Cynthia's going to Georgetown to run track as well. So, I mean, we've got, they were right there as well. And then, of course, we had Greyson Billingsley with Barron County. I think he finished fifth in the discus. This is something I looked up earlier. He improved his discus distance, I think, by 17 feet during the course. No, 20 feet during the course of the season, I think it was. I mean, just think about that. I mean, that's from the first meet of the season. I think he threw 133 feet.
And finished with 154.
Yeah. I mean, and so, I mean, that was impressive. And then Riley Wilson, she finished 7th in the girls' discus, and her distance, she improved by 19 feet from last year when she competed at the state meet.
Right, and I don't know if since we didn't have a show last week, I don't know if it was on the previous show, but Riley won the region too.
Yeah, she won the shot and discus at the region.
That's correct, and Greyson won the
region. Yep.
And obviously Jerrick won the region, but
yeah.
I think we did. Maybe we did talk about that.
Yeah, because some of them had been on the Saturday and some on the Thursday.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, so yeah, it was a great run by them, and
Dalen Thomas was 10th in the state in the shot put.
Yeah, and the thing is, like we just mentioned, all of those people all the names we just mentioned, except for Cynthia Austin, are juniors or younger. So they'll all be back next year with a chance to either repeat as state champions or win it next year, because they're all going to be close to the tops in their groups, no matter what it is. And
with improvement, who knows, right?
Yeah. You know, going back to the Jerrick thing, the thing about him that is both impressive is you walk out there and you know you got the raw talent. But then, and this is also the case, I think, with Billingsley and Wilson and Dalen Thomas in the tosses, you have to have coaches that can teach you the techniques, you know, because that is the deal in track. You may have the raw talent, but learning the techniques, especially in the field events and even in the sprints and stuff, is like critical. And if those coaches have such an impact on teaching you those techniques, get your steps down on whatever the event is you're doing,
right?
Release points if you're talking about throwing events and that kind of stuff, and just getting comfortable with doing things that are not. You think jumping and running is natural, and it is, but running out of a block is not. You know, jumping into a pit is not. And so those coaches have had a huge impact on them as well this year, and that part is impressive as well, because you look, we've kind of had this run of recent track athletes. We've had some good coaches in both these programs in recent years, really helping them be the best they can be.
No question, and it is. It's. There's a lot of technique to it. Obviously, there's natural ability too. But you have to have both. You have to have the ability. You got to have a work ethic.
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's thousands of people that are going to watch you. Let's just be honest with you.
Yeah.
And especially with the tosses, because even at a large track meet, oftentimes the tosses are somewhere kind of off the radar a little bit. And it's kind of almost a lonely deal in one sense. So it does take that discipline. It does take some good coaching and so forth. And both schools have been blessed with that.
Yeah. I was looking at some of these others. You know, we mentioned this stuff. Something that we've mentioned the athletes whose scores go to the team scores here with these guys who won the state or competed in these other events. But one of the things they've added in recent years is the unified mixed stuff. And, you know, so you'll take a kid who might be a Special Olympics qualifying kid and then match them up with one of the regular team members there. And one of the things they did is Reed Harper, I think he won 3 events. He's at Glasgow. And one was a long jump, I think, and 2 relays. And then Evan Kunke and Dalen Thomas ran for Barron, I think, in the 2x200 mixed unified. It's kind of a neat thing that's come on here recently, and it's kind of nice to see that recognized at the state level as well. They get a podium and that kind of thing.
I agree.
And obviously, if you're one of the kids that competes in the Special Olympics, this has got to help you get ready when you go and do that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, makes them feel a part of things too.
Anything else about this state track that has stood out to you here just recently?
No, I think we covered it. Just what's amazing to me is just the resurgence, I guess you could say, and just how it's kind of under the radar a little bit, but that we have actually state champions in this area, and that's been impressive for a while.
Yeah, I was going to mention also I updated my list of names of people who have won state track and field titles. I used to have it on when we had the SCORE website, and I have it on the WCLU website. So if you want to go look, it's got the list of all the people who have won state titles from a Barron County school, Glasgow, or even Caverna, going back as far as I could get the records going back. So back into the late 60s. starting with Jesse Stewart, which, speaking of discus, I think
still the state. I looked this morning.
Yeah, still state record holder.
That's correct.
And I think, what is it, 177 for the discus, something like that?
I think that's right.
And so the guy who won 3A this year threw like 160.
Still amazing. That's right.
You think about another 17 feet that you have to go to even get to that man's record. That's kind of crazy. All right, that's all I can think of for the track stuff here, John. This is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
All right, here is the regional baseball and softball portion of the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. So we'll catch you back up on all the things in case you missed them last week or you missed us. Let's start with the baseball because Barron County season ended with an 8-4 loss to South Warren, and basically one bad inning was the difference in the game, John. It was they just had one of those innings that you have sometimes, and there's no you can't explain it.
Well, I think since the last time we've been here, we probably need to walk it back, right?
Yeah.
They won the district.
That's right. They did.
Barron finished 24-11. They won the district. They beat Allen 5-1. I think we were here on that one because that was on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then beat Warren East 2-0 in the finals. I mean, that was a Cameron Crawford gym, 4 hits, no runs, and so forth. Got a good draw in the region, drew Monroe.
Yep.
And Monroe tended, that's they were quite feisty. 1-0, and the Gerald's kid pitched for Monroe, and he did a super job against Barron. But Barron scored 1 run. I think it was a RBI by the pitcher, Cam Crawford.
Yep.
And that's all there was. Crawford I think he went 6 or maybe 5 1/3, and then Sutton Hyde came in and got out of a jam. I think it was a bases loaded jam.
Yeah, bases loaded, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it got kind of dicey there and got out of that, and Barron won 1-0 and moved them to the semifinals against obviously a really good South Warren team. And Barron started off good. I think we had a lead 1-0 going into third.
Yeah, that's right.
And then had that one bad inning where we just gave up a 6 in the bottom of the third, a couple of mistakes, a couple of walks here or there, whatever, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Ended up losing 8-4, but they had a really good year. All the stuff they've overcome with different coaching changes and so forth, to be 24-11 and be in position.
Yeah.
And by the way, South Warren went on and knocked off Warren East
in dramatic fashion.
In the next day in the finals, but they give Barron credit. Boy, they played. They had a really good year.
It was one of those things where when they were playing South Warren, and my son made this comment because he was shooting the game. He said, it's a shame Barron lost that game because I really think they outplayed South Warren. They just made 2 mistakes in that third inning, and that just opened the door for South Warren because I think one of them was a throwing error where they were trying to pick off a guy at third, and it just went awry, and that guy ended up scoring. And then South Warren had a couple of hits and then back-to-back doubles, I think, after that. And it was kind of like once South Warren got off the hook, they just caught fire. And then Barron was trying to play catch-up after that. But really, they did, outside of that one inning, they really did outplay South Warren. And South Warren, as you mentioned, I mean, they ended up beating Warren East 8-7 on a walk-off walk.
Come from behind. They were way behind that game.
Yeah, and so I think they were down 7-3 at one point in the game. Right. But it was kind of like maybe it's one of those years where you hope it's your year for those kinds of things to go your way, but it was South Warren's year for things to go that way. And, that's kind of the way it went in that game against Barron as well. I mean, it looked like Barron played better. They just made a couple of mistakes that proved.
Right, and South Warren was arguably all year the best team in the region.
Yeah, they were.
South Warren, Greenwood, and then kind of Barron and so forth like that. So it's not like they lost to somebody shouldn't lose to.
Right.
And Barron finished strong down the stretch too. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do by winning the district, and even though the Monroe County game was tight, they got that win and so forth. So it is what it is. They wanted to. Obviously, your goal is to win the region, but they had 8, maybe 9 seniors.
Yeah,
and they're going to lose a lot now. I mean, I was just looking at the Sutton brothers, JP and Sutton and JP Hyde, Hyde brothers. I'm sorry, really good players, 4-year starters, really.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Reese, who's just kind of a glue and played really well. Axel Dyson, who came in, the catcher Aiden Keeney, and then you had the pitchers. You had Jacob Spence and Matthew Estes, and Joey Myers was hurt most of the year too. So I mean, those guys did a great job. Now Barron's got some good pitchers coming back,
right?
And they got good players. Don't get me wrong, but boy, that was he lost. There's a lot of good players in that mix, but they had a good career, to say the least. Good career.
I wanted to touch on the Warren East thing real quick because they made it to the regional final. A team that really,
what did I say?
they were better than the record.
I said they were good enough to win the region, and even though they were 8 and
18 or something.
8 and 18 because they had pitching.
Yeah,
they had 3 quality pitchers, and they played an incredibly difficult schedule. That's why the Barron win 2-0 in the district final was, to me, very impressive. Barron beat them 3 times, and I thought East was really good.
Yeah. Well, and also the interesting thing was there was a chance East didn't even get out of the first round of the district.
Yeah, they were behind. They were behind against Glasgow. They had to come back and beat Glasgow. We'll get to that here in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were a team that found a way to reach the regional final and had South Warren on the ropes, and they were lucky to even get out of the first round of the district. But but to the Glasgow end, they were a team all year. Pitching was good, defense was good almost every game. They had struggled to score runs, and then that Warren East game that they did lose in the first round of the district, which was played on the Monday night after our last show that we had, they were up 4-0 in that game, got on them early, and then I think they had like an error in the 6th inning when Warren East came back and tied the game, that if they could have gotten out of that probably would have been the game right there because Warren East was in a bad situation.
Yeah, they were on the verge of pulling off a big upset, losing 5-4 to East, and as you said, and Carter Hodges pitched well, went 5 innings, and I think only gave up 1 earned run.
Yeah.
Gave them a chance to win. Obviously up 4-0, you got a good shot to win, but they, give East credit, and, it was, Glasgow was 8-21, and they lost a lot of close games throughout the year.
Yeah.
And but generally they lost a lot of close games. Sometimes it was defensive mistakes, but sometimes it's just lack of scoring.
Yeah.
Well, they scored enough to beat East.
Yeah.
If you get 4 against Warren East, and because Warren East has good pitching, that's if you told me before and they get 4, then I thought they would have a real good chance to win, and they did.
Yeah.
But it just not quite there. Landon Martin had a big game. He had 3 hits for him. Glasgow's another team that's very young. Only 2 seniors that were in their lineup.
Yeah.
For the district, JoJo Driver, and I think it was Cam Nolly.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, everybody else were underclassmen and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to miss both those guys, but they're especially going to miss Josiah at the leadoff. I mean, I think he was their leading hitter all year, and he was a guy that it's hard to replace a guy who can hit a ball down the third baseline that most people would get thrown out on, and yet he put so much pressure on him with his speed that people would either miss it or he just beat out leg it out sometimes. I mean, he will be missed. And then Cam, I think, was a 3-year starter at catcher, so he'll be missed. But, I mean, I think all the pitching will be back. Most of the lineup will be back. And so, I mean, they are a team that if they gain that experience, and they improve the way they should from year to year, they're a team that could flip that record by next year, I think, just because if you can play that many close games, you can win those games.
That's correct.
And then on the softball side, we didn't get to talk about this district game, and we'll get to the region here in a bit. It was an epic first-round district game between Glasgow and Barron County.
Yeah, you got to give Glasgow a ton of credit. Barron ends up winning 8-7 in 9 innings. But it's the game that Barron had run-ruled Glasgow twice.
Yeah.
I think what was Glasgow's record, 5-20-something?
Yeah.
And but it showed glimpses at the end of the year of they beat E-Town 1-0 of playing better. But I don't think anybody expected 8-7 in any shape of the imagination. But but Glasgow arguably played their best game of the year, or one of them. Kerrigan Hagan pitched her heart out. She was, she ended up going the distance and allowed 7 runs eventually, but she only took 2. And I just thought her pitching. Barron had a lot of soft outs. I'll just say that. A lot of I think like 21 of the 23 outs were like fly balls or pop-ups. So you know, she had Barron off balance all night. Barron, on the other hand, did not I think it's fair to say Barron didn't play well. To pull off a massive upset like that, you know, the underdog needs to play well, and the team that's favored sometimes has to make mistakes, and I think it's fair to say Barron made plenty of those.
Yeah. I think the thing about the game, you mentioned the score, and I think that was the thing. I was not surprised that Kerrigan Hagan pitched well because she had been, and that Barron struggled against her because she actually pitched well last year when she was in the 7th grade against him in the district tournament. And so that part didn't surprise me. What surprised me was Glasgow putting up 7 runs.
Right.
And that's a combination of them putting the ball in play and making Barron try to make plays, and Barron struggled on that front.
And they got, you know, Paige DeHaas.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
1 for 4, 3 RBIs. A kid hitting under 200, got a 3-run homer.
Right. Yes.
So things like that, you know, you never know situations. Did Barron overlook them? I don't know. Some of the kids said afterwards you did an interview, a very good interview, and that was
that was Briley's opinion.
She admitted that they overlooked them in a lot of ways, you know, and Glasgow. And the thing about it is. Neither team scored the last 3 innings, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So,
you know, a hit here, a play here, and who knows what could have happened. But Barron survived, and that's the key, survive in advance. But I think you got to give Glasgow credit. And then the next night for Barron, you know, Warren East just 10 to 1. And, you know, it comes to find out you know, Barron had beaten East twice that year.
Yeah.
But come to find out, East was playing better than anybody in the region.
That is correct.
And you can see that by East goes all the way to the finals of the region. East knocks off the number 2 team in the state in Greenwood, then beats Cumberland in a closer than a lot of people thought, and then only loses 2-0 to the best team in the state in South Warren.
Yeah.
Holds them to 2 runs, which is less than South Warren has scored all year. So Barron runs into East and loses. Gets to the region, and I was happy for him to get a win in the region.
Yeah.
By knocking off Franklin. Did they play great? Not really, to be honest with you. You know, I think the last week or so, I don't think Barron played. Probably the best game they played in the last couple of weeks was at Allen when they got that win. But they probably didn't play great in the district. And the Franklin-Simpson game, 11-8, still a lot of mistakes, but at least Barron hit it. You know, I think Greyson Martin had 3 hits and 3 RBIs, and Katie Elmore, and I think Lizzie Smith, and somebody else I can't remember who. Shea Bogue had a couple hits and so forth, so they got that win against Franklin Simpson, which they were behind too. They had to come back, and that set them up for the semifinal against South Warren, which South Warren won 10-0.
You know, and really considering you mentioned Barron had kind of struggled defensively as much as anything since the Allen County game, and really in a couple of games around the Allen County game as well. But they, as well as they had played in the Allen County game, I was like, okay, maybe they're going to pick up and play a little better in the postseason. And obviously they still had some struggles defensively, even though they were managed to get some runs. So I was kind of worried about that South Warren game. I was like, you know, this thing may be over in the 3rd inning because they've really just struggled defensively here lately. They played pretty well in that game. I mean, South Warren is a relentless team when it comes to the plate. I mean, they're going to keep hitting the ball. And I actually thought Barron played pretty well overall in that game compared to how they've been playing coming into that game. And South Warren, I mean, what Warren East did to hold them to 2 runs is quite incredible. And that says a lot about how Warren East has been playing here in the last couple of weeks. But you know, I mean, South Warren at the plate, I don't know that I've seen a high school softball team hit the ball that well in the last 15 years.
Yeah, they got they got several kids that are double-digit homers. 6 Division I players have already committed or signed Division I. I'd say committed because almost all their players are underclassmen.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they'll be a prohibitive favorite next year. All their pitchers are underclassmen. Their best player, Hudson, is just a junior. She's arguably the best softball player that's come out of this region.
Yeah, and there have been some really good ones.
There's been some really good ones. Now, that's arguable, okay? Yeah. But she's already committed to Kentucky and so forth. She's big time. I mean, South Warren will be the favorite to win in Lexington at state tournament. Now, they're in the toughest bracket. They're in the upper bracket, and the best teams in the state outside of Assumption are up there because you got Davies County, you got the second and third region, and plus the fourth region are all up in the upper bracket. So it's a tough bracket, but South Warren is built to do that. They've got 2 pitchers. They got a great offense. They're probably due. They've been knocking on the door up there.
Yeah.
And you almost kind of think they're kind of due to get over that hump.
Yeah. Well, they were an impressive team, and like I said, what Warren East did to hold them to 2-0.
And Barron finished 21-7.
Yeah.
Good year.
They had an outstanding season.
Good year.
I know it was probably a little rocky for them down the stretch, but overall they had a really good season. And they were going to miss the seniors that they have, because it's a good group. I mean, it includes Brawley Adalo, the catcher, Katie Elmore,
Lizzie Smith,
Abby Elmore.
Yeah, so they will miss those for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, Shea Bogue will be back, and a lot of the other players around. I think was Josie Moore a senior or not? I can't remember.
She's not.
Okay. So I mean, a lot of the other players will be back that they have out there, and so they should be solid again next year.
They'll be solid. They're just in a bad region.
They're in a tough region, in a tough district.
Unless South Warren moves out of the region.
Yeah, they're going to get kicked out next year. You got to go play in the first or something like that. Anything else about the high school baseball, softball that you stood out to? You mentioned that the state tournament starts Thursday. South Warren takes on Davies County, and then the state baseball tournament also starts Thursday, and South Warren plays Highlands on Friday up there.
Yep, all in Lexington and so forth.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's again. I think Western Kentucky did a good job. It's a great host down there for baseball and softball. Baseball played every night.
Yeah.
Softball was delayed one night, had to skip over it and so forth. But yeah, I think everything went pretty smoothly.
Yep. All right, it's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Well, John, there was a whole lot of college baseball to look at.
Boy, it was. It was a wild weekend. It's still not over.
No, we got
several games tonight.
Yeah,
today.
Games. Yeah. So WKU had made the regional tournament, got to go play in Oxford, Mississippi. I hope they got good food because the baseball didn't go so well for them down there. They struggled. They lost to Georgia Tech, and who was the second game against that they lost to?
Ole Miss.
Oh, that's right. It was Ole Miss because Ole Miss ended up getting beat by Murray State in the first game.
Played two good teams.
Yeah,
they didn't embarrass themselves in any way.
I
mean, it was two competitive games. Now, they didn't play clean. They
right.
made too many mistakes.
Yeah.
But they didn't play.
They did
clean.
not play as well as they did in the conference
They
tournament.
hit the ball well.
Yeah.
They scored enough runs, but they gave up too many bombs and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and just made too many just basic fielding mistakes and got a few runners thrown out on the base pass and so forth. But so it was, they were in position to win some games, but they were basically always coming from behind.
Right. Yeah, so that was a two game trip for them. Now, meanwhile, Louisville took advantage of, it's not right to say take advantage of. They took advantage of their own success.
Well, they lost 6 out of 7 going into it.
Yeah, didn't look good for them.
They lost their last 3 series and actually had lost to Bellarmine, who was 12 and 40 on a Tuesday.
That's right.
So they were not really coming in on a roll, but they still got a 2 seed because they had so many big.
Yeah, what is that? Quad games. Or whatever?
Quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
Including over Vandy before that.
Right, that's right.
The overall number 1 seed. So they got healthy. Patrick Forbes from Bowling Green has pitcher who used to be Mr. Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He had missed some time this year with an arm injury. He's back, and he was tremendous. He struck out 13 in the opening win against East Tennessee. The catcher, who will be drafted, had broken his hand or wrist at the start of the year and
Mm-hmm.
missed 50 games. Well, he's back. It was like his second game back.
Yeah.
And he's the number 2 hitter. So Louisville finally got on. They got a good pitching performance, and the pitching has been the problem. Mm-hmm. And they got a good win against East Tennessee, probably a win they should have won. Mm-hmm. Then they beat Vanderbilt, the overall number 1 seed. That was the key. That was on Saturday. Beat them at Vandy 4-3 or whatever, mm-hmm. and that put Vandy in the losers bracket. And Vandy, you would think that Vandy would take care of business and had to play Louisville again. Well, Vandy actually lost again at home to Wright State.
Yeah, yeah.
So that knocked the overall number 1 seed out. Mm-hmm. And then Louisville late last night took care of Wright State, shut them out.
Yeah, 6-0.
6-0, and right now Louisville could host a super region depending on your school, Southern Miss.
Yeah,
Southern Miss is hosting Miami, mm-hmm. and whoever wins that late game tonight, if Miami wins, then they'll go to Louisville to play this weekend. And if Southern Miss loses, because Southern Miss was actually a seed, Louisville is not. Louisville has to go to there.
Yeah. So we want to do the show next Monday from Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That would be the third game if they play three games, right, on the Monday night?
That's correct. So Louisville is either going to be hosting or going to Southern Miss. That's the deal. But yeah, that's good for Louisville. Kentucky ends up losing a tough one yesterday, kind of mm-hmm. the way they've lost in the past. They won a couple games in the tournament.
Yeah.
But they lost yesterday 13-12. 13-12.
Yeah. I think they were up in that game at one point. I think they were up 7-2, and then I think they were up 12-7.
And that was against Clemson.
West Virginia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's right.
And so it was they ended up losing that. West Virginia scored 6 runs like in the 8th inning or something like that.
Yeah,
and
Kentucky have lost so many one-run games. They're back into their bullpen.
Yeah.
It's not great. And then I think West Virginia ended up winning that region. They beat Clemson.
Yes.
Yeah, knocked off Clemson, so they went on and won that region.
Yeah.
But yeah, tough loss for Kentucky.
Yeah, so it was an interesting weekend. This is one of my favorite.
We got one more Kentucky school.
That's right, Murray State.
Murray, who's already upset Georgia Tech and Ole Miss,
yes,
is in the finals tonight against Ole Miss.
That's right. Yeah, this is one of my favorite weekends of the year. Like I love that first weekend of the men's NCAA cool. tournament, but I love these regional weekends.
I do too
because anything happens.
Well, number 1 Vandy's out, the number 2 seed's out.
Yeah,
Texas is out.
Yeah,
Texas, San Antonio,
mm-hmm.
knocked them out.
I think 4 of the hosts, so seeded schools, have
Oregon's
already lost.
Out.
Yeah, and so, but it is one of my favorite weekends. Yeah.
Oregon, Clemson, yeah, there's several, a lot of upsets. It's hard, if you lose, this is, we talk about to win the baseball high school region. Mm-hmm. You got to really plan your pitching out,
right?
Because sometimes you may not pitch your best just first game. You got to see who's coming up. I think in this situation, it's almost a little different. I think I would pitch my best player the first game.
Yeah.
Because if you lose that first one, you're about done.
Yeah. You're in a bad track.
Too many games you got to play. So, you need to you almost need to win that first one where you're not coming deep out of that mm-hmm. loser's bracket and so forth, because eventually you just run out of pitching. You're just going to have to outscore team. Yeah. And that's hard to do.
Well, and that's another reason that's one of my favorite weekends, is because what happens is you will see a team will put up, 7 runs in the 3rd inning or something like that. And so they're up like 7-1. And usually in a baseball game, not every baseball game, and a lot of times in a college baseball game, you're like, well, during their season, you're like, well, that game's probably over with, because now they're going to start making a decision if it's a weekend series mm-hmm. or a midweek where you're already not pitching your best pitchers. You start making a decision about the weekend series. But in these games, in these regional tournaments, anything can happen at that point in time, because basically you might have 3 pitchers and maybe you got 3 in the bullpen, so you might have 3 starters and 3 in the bullpen or something like that. But if you get in the wrong side of that game to start with, things start getting hairy, because now, let's say you got another game coming up and you're like, all right, which game am I going to be in, loser or winner's bracket? I've got to win this game.
Yeah, that's exactly. Well, if you like drama tonight, there's a couple games that watch Tennessee and Wake Forest at Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
they know I've talked about this in the past. Tennessee is the defending national champion. There's no more cockier team in the country than Tennessee, and that fan base behind them. I mean, they're almost guaranteed something will happen tonight. Because that's they play on a lot of emotion, to say the least. So something will happen there. And I'm obviously interested in Murray, pulling for Murray against Ole Miss. Don't know if they got enough left to beat Ole Miss. And obviously for the Louisville people, you probably you're interested in Southern Miss, Miami. It'd be kind of nice to host a region. So if you want to host it, then you're for Miami. But, Miami's Miami. If not, then you'll have to go to Southern Miss. So we'll see what happens.
It'll be renewing the ancient rivalry, Southern Miss and Louisville.
When I played at Louisville back in the 80s, we were both in the Metro Conference together.
And usually two of the better programs in the Metro, I think, at that time.
No, we were not.
Louisville was not?
No, we were not. Now, Florida State was.
That's right. Florida State was pretty good at that time.
Southern Miss was in it.
Yeah. I kind of miss those Metro rivalries sometimes because, some of them were pretty natural. Because Tulane was in the Metro, Southern Miss.
South Carolina
was in the Metro. Memphis was in there.
Cincinnati.
Yep, Cincinnati, Louisville. So
and Virginia Tech.
That's right. So I feel like you had a pretty good core of programs competing against each other in basketball and baseball, that kind of set some tones. And whenever they get together now, I don't know how the fans feel, but probably the fans from the 80s probably still remember those rivalries,
That's
I'd
correct.
say. So if you've been a longtime fan and you get the chance
My
to
last college hit was against Southern Miss.
Is that right?
Yes, it was.
What kind of hit was it?
It's a double.
Is that right? Who'd
Sure
you,
was. I had no idea. It was a double down the line. I just remember that. It was double down the line, and I end up a stand-up double on second.
You don't remember who the pitcher was?
I have no clue.
I don't.
No idea.
There's no telling who it was. I feel like at that time, too, in the Metro, a lot of the players were more regional in terms of who they played
probably
for.
So.
So if you were playing against Southern Miss, there was probably a bunch of people from Louisiana.
You weren't. That was before all this crazy conference stuff. So you weren't flying all across the country.
Yeah.
So, it's bus rides and
a lot
more localized.
I'd say in the baseball, a lot of the recruiting was from the backyard back in those days.
Yep.
Because, like you said, you weren't flying all over the place and you didn't have a budget to go recruiting all over the place.
Correct.
Anything else about the college baseball for real quick?
No, I think that's it.
All right. It's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
Welcome back. Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We're going to close out the show here over the last 4.5 minutes talking about college softball. Oklahoma, what have they won? How many national titles have they won?
They've won 4 straight.
Yeah, but they're in danger of not winning a 5th straight.
They've got to win 2 to get to the finals.
Yeah,
because they've already lost 1. They lost to Texas 4-2 earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta win 2, and they got to beat Texas Tech, who's just come out of nowhere to be a power because thanks to Najee Kennedy. This dominant. She's the best pitcher in softball. Her ERA's under 1.
Yeah,
she was at the World Series last year with Stanford.
Yes.
And she transferred from Stanford. She's got the highest paid. She was given, and it's documented. They did stories about her. She's got paid $1 million. It's like $1,024, something like that. And Patrick Mahomes is part of all that too. Patrick Mahomes is a Texas Tech guy. So she was given this 1-year contract, even though she's a junior. So I guess she'll go somewhere else, or they'll have to renew it
next year.
To come to Texas Tech, and they got the coach from Louisiana, Lafayette, maybe, to come in there too. So she is a dominant. She didn't hit at Stanford, but she hits and pitches now. And Oklahoma's going to have to find a way to beat her. We'll see. But she is a dominant pitcher.
So it takes $1 million to keep Oklahoma out of possibly keep Oklahoma out of winning another national title.
We'll see. We'll see.
And who's waiting for the winner there?
After today, let's see, Texas.
Okay.
Texas beat Tennessee earlier today, 2-0, and Texas is waiting in the finals.
Yeah.
So Tennessee's now out.
Right, and so Texas, they've played. Did they play Oklahoma the last 2 years in the national championship?
That's correct, and have not gone on the hump yet.
Right.
I'm sure they probably would prefer Tech. You know, Tech has the best pitcher in the country.
Yeah.
than having to, fight through those demons and beating their Oklahoma, which is a national rivalry anyway.
Yeah, right.
But again, a great TV, tremendous TV. They had the controversy yesterday in the UCLA Tennessee game, in which UCLA hit a 2-run homer to tie it in the bottom of the seventh. In the top of the seventh, and the girl misses home plate. Yeah. And clearly misses it, and one of her players basically takes her back and steps on it. Tennessee appealed. The replay shows she missed it. Mm-hmm. Replay admitted she missed it, but they say that we can't review the assistants going back to the play, which makes no sense. It was about a 20-minute delay. Yeah. Luckily for Tennessee, they scored 2 innings later to win. Yeah. But, it's a lot of drama.
That's kind of an interesting rule, and it's kind of a thing where we see this in high school where people will crowd around the plate. We see it in softball, not in baseball. And everybody says, don't touch them before they touch home plate, because then they'd be out, right?
Yeah, maybe, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Allegedly. I
mean, you touch the third base coach.
Well, there's that. I've wondered about that myself in the past, where you're having 5. That's right. And so how are you not out there by contact?
Just stay away. The team needs to stay away from home plate, because what happens is the batter gets distracted. Mm-hmm. They're looking at their teammates and all that stuff, and sometimes they'll step right over it. Yeah. But I would hate to see a kid, girl in this case, have their home run taken away from them. Mm-hmm. In the same sense, you got to, it's T-ball. You got to touch each base, right?
Yeah, touch them all. You know what they tell you?
Yeah, touch
them all. Well, and you're right. I mean, it was clear her front foot just missed, and her back heel stepped over, over home plate. And I don't know. It's just one of those. It's one of those situations.
It's taken a lot of guts to overturn it.
Yes.
But looking back on it, it took a lot of guts not to.
Right.
Because it was clear.
Yeah. It's one of those where the principle of the matter was probably proper, even if the ruling was improper. Because you don't. I mean, it's
replay makes it look worse. So
because
you're replaying, and it's kind of hard to deny. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the regional tournament when I had the problem with the girl running when the official took that away from Warren East.
Yes,
that was my instincts. Just let it go but when you see it on video, mm-hmm. and she's running right in there before the ball even hits the rim, it's like I guess you almost have to call it.
Yeah, I mean you're stuck with it.
That's right.
And it is that kind of thing in a way. That's part of the problem with the replay, I think, before we get out of here, is it takes up a lot of time, and we just really don't know if we've making the proper decision sometimes, even if we get the rule right.
All right.
It's Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's Glasgow. We'll be back next week.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.